Cool FM. Cool FM is a TVH Group of Networks radio station. Tondo's greatest hits are here. You are listening to Cool FM. Live from Cool Studios. This is koolNews at 11.
Good morning and welcome to koolNews at 11 a.m. Let's get into the headlines for this hour. Starting with the international headlines, nearly a quarter of a million people were evacuated in eastern China as rainstorms lashed parts of the country and caused the Yangtze and other rivers to swell, state media reported Wednesday. Xinhua said the storms had affected 991,000 residents in Hangzhou province and forced the evacuation of 242,000 people by Tuesday afternoon. As of 4 p.m. Tuesday, rainstorms had wreaked havoc in 36 counties and districts in 7 prefecture-level cities in Hangzhou, according to the Provincial Emergency Management Department, Xinhua reported. China has been endorsing extreme weather conditions in recent months, from torrential rainfall to heat waves. The country is the leading emitter of greenhouse gases, which scientists say drive climate change and make extreme weather events more frequent and intense. The state-run news agency said the Yangtze, China's longest river, has seen water levels in its Anhui section exceed warning marks and continue to rise. Torrential rains have also pushed waters above their alert levels in another 20 rivers and 6 lakes in the province. Now let's begin with the national headlines as Senator Juan Edgardo Sony Angara's appointment as the country's new education secretary was welcomed by 2 more Senate colleagues and a major educational institution. Education runs in his blood, said University of the East President Zosimo Batat in a statement on Wednesday, a day after the Presidential Communications Office announced Angara's appointment. Angara, whose term as a senator ends in 2025, earned his law degree at the University of the Philippines, Master of Laws degree at Harvard University, and economics degree at the London School of Economics. His father, the late former Senate President Edgardo Angara, was also a well-known figure in the education sector, being the former president of the University of the Philippines. UE welcomes the appointment of Senator Sonny Angara as the new education secretary. We are optimistic that he will hit the ground running since he is accurately armed with an extensive knowledge of issues and challenges in education, said Batat. Batat said the UE community is looking forward to working with Angara in hopes of uplifting the country's educational system. Angara's colleagues in the Senate likewise aired their support for the new DepEd chief. Among the recent ones who aired their support were Senators Grace Poll and Lito Lapid. Both said Angara's appointment is an inspired choice. His first-hand experience as an educator is exactly what the agency needs to effectively address the current situation or education crisis in the country, said Poll. Poll cited Angara's 2 decades of service in both houses of Congress, which, according to her, made Angara more qualified for the post. Senator Angara led the passage of the Unified Student Financial Assistance System Act, scholarships, the Student Fair Discount Act, Universal Access to Quality Tertiary Education, and Open Learning and Distance Education Act, among others, Poll said. Poe, however, noted that the upper chamber would miss his legal wisdom and witty quips on the Senate floor. Lapid likewise hailed Angara's appointment. Lapid said in a separate statement, "Napakalaki po ng hamon sa sector ng edukasyon sa ating bansa at kailangan din ng patikan lingkod bayan na katulad ni Senator Sonny upang pagkunanglahan ang ating kawaranan at suportahan ng mga programang na ating mahal na Pangulo," said. Yeah. There is a huge problem in our education sector, and we need a seasoned public servant like Senator Sonny to lead DepEd and support the programs of our dear President. Angara will replace Vice President Sara Duterte, who resigned as deputy chief on June 19. Duterte, however, did not provide a categorical reason why she left her post, only signifying that it was not a sign of weakness but stirred by compassion for teachers and students. Well, it looks like we have another other school surrounding as National Bureau of Investigation Director Jimmy Santiago revealed that there is a third Alice Guo who filed for an MBI clearance in Quezon City in 2005. In the press conference on Wednesday, Santiago said that the person does not exist upon checking the place of residence listed in her records. There is no other information available yet about her identity. This is a ongoing, developing story as we speak at this time. Independent probe into the failed-granted attack against San Miguel, Bulacan Vice Mayor Bong Alvarez is currently underway, the Commission on Human Rights said. In a statement, CHR said it is concerned about the prevalence of violence in the country, especially since the 2025 midterm elections are a few months away. Reports showed that the grenade was thrown at Alvarez convoy last June 4 by two unidentified suspects aboard a motorcycle. When the first grenade failed to go off, a second one was thrown, but it also failed to detonate. As an independent national human rights institution, we sound the alarm of the prevalence of violence in the country, CHR said on Tuesday. Continued occurrence of violence against officials undermines the effective delivery of public service to their respective constituents, it noted. This becomes more pertinent as the 2025 midterm elections approach, where these acts further impaired the voters' right to make free and empowered decisions during the polls. The Commission pointed out, allowing a climate of fear to grow among its constituents can only negatively impact the electoral process. For a democratic country to thrive, we must ensure that the credibility of elections is preserved, it added. CHR believes that it may be an election-related incident since Alvarez has announced that he will run again in the 2025 elections. He also pointed out that an attempted ambush was also carried out in 2012, which led to the death of two people from the staff it mentioned. During the 2022 election season, there were also several incidents involving the hurling of grenades. In September 2021, a grenade was thrown at the ancestral home of Cagayan de Oro 2nd District Representative Rufus Rodriguez. No one was harmed after the bomb did not explode. And now it's time for cool weather as cloudy skies and rain showers will prevail in parts of Mindanao and Palawan due to the intertropical convergence zone, while partly cloudy skies and isolated rain showers are forecast in Metro Manila and the rest of the country on Wednesday, according to the State Weather Bureau. Obed Barina, a weather specialist of the Philippine Atmospheric Geophysical and Astronomical Services, said in an early morning forecast, itong intertropical convergence zone ay nakakaapekto sa bahagi ng Mindanao at sa may Palawan. The intertropical convergence zone is affecting parts of Mindanao and Palawan. The Zamboanga Peninsula, Basilan, Sulu, Tawi-Tawi, and Palawan are expected to have cloudy skies with scattered rain showers and thunderstorms. Barina said the ITCZ may weaken in the next 3 days, resulting in less rainfall. Sa mga susunod na araw naman, inasahan na hihina na ang apekto ng Intertropical Convergence Zone or ITCZ sa ating bansa, he said. No tropical storm cyclones are expected to enter or form inside the Philippine area of responsibility in the coming days. At least from 2 to 3 days maidit ng tinagsa na magkaroon ng bagyo sa loob ng Philippine area of responsibility, Barina said. Pakasa did not raise a gale warning over any of the country's seaboards. Alright, well, coming up on koolNews at 11 a.m. as Joe Biden's poor performance continues to worsen as Democrats as White House fights anxiety over Biden's future. Sugar producers seek consultation on importation plan. U.S. Fed has made quite a bit of progress on inflation, according to Powell. And Biden plans public events amid pressure to quick race. Stick around. We have a lot of headlines coming up right here on Cool News at 11 a.m. We will be right back. Welcome back. The U.S. Federal Reserve has made quite a bit of progress in its fight against rising prices and could hit its inflation target as soon as next year, Fed Chair Jerome Powell said Tuesday. The U.S. Central Bank has hiked interest rates to a 23-year high as it looks to restrict monetary policy enough to bring inflation back down to its long-term 2% target without doing too much damage to either the labor market or the broader economy. Since it started hiking rates in 2022, the Fed has brought inflation back down from a multi-decade high to an annual rate of 2.6% in May, while growth has remained positive and the unemployment rate has stayed at near record lows. We have made quite a bit of progress in bringing inflation back down to our target, while the labor market has remained strong and growth has continued, Powell told an event in Sintra, Portugal, which was streamed online. We want that progress to continue. He added that it was possible that the Fed could hit its 2% target maybe late next year or in 2026. The main thing is we are making real progress, he said. At last month's interest rate decision, the Fed penciled in just one rate cut for this year and said it does not expect inflation to reach 2% until 2026. Futures traders currently believe there is a roughly 70% chance that the U.S. Central Bank will start cutting interest rates by mid-September and see it as more likely than not that it will make a second cut by the end of the year, according to CME Group data. Powell was also asked about support for the Fed's independence during the discussion in Sintra with European Central Bank President Christine Lagarde and the head of Brazil's Central Bank, Roberto Campos Neto. Donald Trump has repeatedly criticized Powell, whom he appointed, suggesting he may cut interest rates to support the Democrats ahead of November's presidential elections. But Powell insisted Tuesday that the Fed was solely focused on doing its job under its dual mandate from Congress to promote maximum employment and stable prices. I do think support for the Fed's independence is very high, where it really matters on Capitol Hill in both political parties, he said, and so I worry about getting the job right. The National Federation of Sugarcane Planters and the Panay Federation of Sugarcane Farmers have joined calls to consult industry stakeholders in its plan to import 200,000 metric tons of refined sugar by September. In a joint statement emailed Tuesday, the two sugar groups appealed to the government to craft a database, transparent and consultative sugar importation plan. NFSP President Enrique Rojas and Panay Fed President Danilo Abelita called on the Sugar Regulatory Administration to conduct a consultation and highlighted the industry on the basis of the purported importation plan. We need to see the sugar production and demand figures which will use as the basis for such a plan, Rojas and Abelita said. Earlier, the Confederation of Sugar Producers Association wrote a letter to Agriculture Secretary Francisco de Lara Jr., expressing their concerns over the proposed importation of refined sugar before local harvest begins. Confed President Aurelio Gerardo Valderrama said sugar stakeholders were not consulted before such pronouncements were made. The group is asking the SRA to consult stakeholders to discuss any policy governing the industry for crop year 2024 to 2025, beginning in September this year. Consistent with our frequently stated position, we reiterate that any sugar importation plan should be database, calibrated, totally transparent, and fair, done in consultation with industry stakeholders, and therefore immune from speculation and manipulation, Valderrama said. The RL unveiled last week the government's plan to import 200,000 metric tons of refined sugar to stabilize retail prices and domestic supply. He said the importation plan has been on the table for 6 months, and the arrival of the imported sweetener would be timed to fill the gap before the next cropping season. That is the deficit that we are seeing. We expect current stocks to decline by August or September, so we need to plug the supply gap by importing 200,000 metric tons of refined sugar by September or October, he added. Doral said the Department of Agriculture at the SRA would flush out the details in early July. The FFSP had said any plan to purchase imported sugar should only be the last resort and only be done when absolutely necessary. The United Sugar Producers Federation, or UNIFED, backed the importation plan as the El Nino phenomenon delayed the beginning of the harvest season. As of Tuesday, refined sugar retailed from 74 pesos to 90 pesos per kilogram in Metro Manila markets, lower than 86 pesos to 110 pesos per kilograms in the same period last year, based on the DA's price monitoring. Now back to the international headlines. As Democrats, shocked by Joe Biden's dismal debate, performers urged the U.S. President Tuesday to be transparent about his mental illness as he faced the first call from his own side to drop out of the election. Some supporters have expressed growing doubts about the 81-year-old's candidacy after last week's televised showdown with Donald Trump, when Biden stumbled over his words and lost his train of thought, exacerbating fears about his age. Congressman Lloyd Doggett became the first Democratic lawmaker to publicly call on Biden to make way for another candidate, saying he was hopeful. excuse me, saying he was hopeful the president would make the painful and difficult decision to withdraw. Nancy Pelosi, a Democratic Party heavyweight and former Speaker of the House, said it was legitimate to ask whether Biden's debate successor was indicative of a deeper problem rather than a one-off. Biden has not given a live interview since the debacle, but will be interviewed by ABC on Friday, with the first clips released later that day. On Tuesday, he blamed exhaustion from international travel for his debate flop. Speaking of the fundraiser, Biden said he wasn't very smart, quote unquote, for traveling around the world a couple of times shortly before the debate. I didn't listen to my stuff, he said, and then I almost fell asleep on stage. Biden traveled to France from June 5 to 9 to commemorate the 1944 Allied landings, headed back to the United States, and then flew to Italy for a G7 summit, followed immediately by a visit to California. He then returned home and went to a presidential retreat for several days of rest and preparation for the debate. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre on Tuesday admitted the debate was a bad night for her, but added that Biden knows how to come back from adversity. She dismissed questions about him needing a cognitive test and said the president would hold a press conference during a NATO summit in Washington next week. The polling margins between the president and his Republican predecessor have been razor thin for months, with Trump showing a slight advantage. Biden pushed for an unusually early first debate in hopes that he could join the race while there was still time, but the plan backfired. Democratic Senator Sheldon Whitehouse told WPRI-TV he was pretty horrified by the president's performance during the 90-minute CNN matchup watched by more than 50 million Americans. Jared Golden, a vulnerable Democrat in a conservative-leaning House district, raised eyebrows with an op-ed in his local paper in Marin, in which he said Biden's poor showing was not a surprise. The outcome of this election has been clear to me for months. While I don't plan to vote for him, Donald Trump is going to win, he wrote. The White House said Biden would meet with Democratic governors on Wednesday evening. One of them, J.B. Pritzker of Illinois, explained that the governors have asked for the opportunity to hear from the president directly. Right now, Joe Biden is our nominee, and I'm 100% on board with that, supporting him as our nominee, unless he makes some other decision, and I think we are all going to be discussing what's the best way forward. Biden has visibly slowed over the last year. It's been several months since the president, who has tripped or fallen in public on several occasions, stopped using his plane's high gangway, preferring a shorter, more stable staircase. He has also surrounded himself with aides for a short walk from the White House to his helicopter on the lawn, hoping to prevent cameras from focusing on his scripted plate. Biden, who has always been prone, has not given a long press conference since June 2022 and spends most weekends in one of his Delaware homes with no official schedule. Vice President Kamala Harris, a leading contender to replace Biden if he exits the race, said Tuesday he was proud to be his running mate. We beat Trump once and we're going to beat him again, she said. And finally, in the related news, the White House announced Tuesday that President Joe Biden will meet with congressional leaders and Democratic governors, sit for a network TV interview, and hold a press conference in the coming days, a blitz designed to push back against growing pressure for the 81-year-old president to step aside in the 2024 race after his disastrous performance in last week's debate with Republican Donald Trump. We really want to turn the page on this, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said of the intensifying calls for Biden to bow out of the race. She added that the president had no intention of stepping aside, characterizing his debate failings as simply evidence of a bad night when he had a cold. During a campaign event later Tuesday, Biden blamed it on jet lag after two back-to-back European trips. I wasn't very smart. I decided to travel around the world a couple of times, he said. The president added that he didn't listen to my style about travel and joked that he fell asleep on stage during the debate. But Democratic leaders were increasingly signaling that they were not buying White House attempts to brush off Biden's performance in the face of as a momentary lapse after he gave halting and nonsensical answers and trailed off at times. There is growing anxiety among donors and on Capitol Hill about the president's ability to win come November, according to people who spoke to the Associated Press on condition of anonymity to discuss internal conversations. And it's not helping that Biden has yet to reach out to legislators who are growing increasingly frustrated that the White House has not satisfactorily explained how such a seasoned politician could have performed so badly. Questions swirled about whether this was an isolated incident or part of the pattern. Two people who spent time with Biden behind closed doors described him similarly. He was often very sharp and focused, but he also had moments, particularly later in the evening, when his thoughts seemed jumbled and he would trail off mid-sentence or seem confused. Those people spoke to the Associated Press on condition of anonymity to discuss the president's interactions behind closed doors. Alright, and yep, that will be it for Cool News at 11 a.m. As always, the headlines continues later with Cool News at noon with DJ Set. Until then, I am Asker, and this has been Cool News at 11 a.m. Good morning.